The evening began like any typical weekend get-together. Friends, colleagues, and familiar acquaintances gathered at an extravagant dinner party thrown by one of my wife's coworkers. Soft jazz drifted through the air, the lights cast a warm glow, and laughter carried easily from one end of the room to the other. I was standing near the bar, deep in conversation with a buddy from the office, when I noticed my wife, Emily, across the room. She looked breathtaking in a red silk dress that shimmered under the dim lights. But it wasn't her appearance that held my focus. It was the way she was acting. She stood a little too close to a man I had never seen before. Each time she laughed, her fingers grazed his arm. He carried himself with unmistakable confidence. And she, well, she seemed to be welcoming it. A knot tightened to my chest, a bitter blend of anger and heartbreak. I had witnessed this pattern before, the lingering touches, the private smiles, the hushed comments disguised as harmless jokes. I reminded myself to stay composed, to breathe, not to make a spectacle of things. Yet the longer I watched, the clearer it became that the woman I married was no longer the same person who once held my hand as if I were her entire universe. When I finally approached them, she looked momentarily caught off guard, before quickly masking it with a bright smile. "Hey, babe," she chirped as though nothing was amiss. "This is Nick. He just started at work." Nick faced me with an effortless grin, the kind some men wear when they know they've stepped over a boundary and simply don't care. "Nice to meet you," he said, extending his hand. I shook it. Firm, cool, intentional. Emily laughed lightly, resting her palm against his shoulder. "Relax," she teased. "We were saying how harmless flirting keeps things exciting." The small group around us chuckled, assuming she was joking. I didn't. I studied her instead. The smug curve of her lips, the confidence, the way she absorbed the attention like sunlight. Something inside me shifted. I smiled calmly. "You're right, Emily," I said evenly. "Being single might be exciting too." The laughter died instantly. Her expression froze. Her hand slipped from Nick's arm, and the color drained from her cheeks. "Wait, what do you mean single?" she asked, her voice barely steady. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in the center of the room, surrounded by guests who suddenly found the floor fascinating. As I neared the door, I heard her faint call behind me. "Jason, come on." It wasn't a joke. But it wasn't a joke. Not to me. It was the last crack in a marriage built on forgiveness she had never truly earned. The drive home was silent. Once inside, the quiet between us felt heavier than any shouting match. She behaved as if the evening had been ordinary. "You're seriously upset about that?" she asked, dropping her purse onto the couch. "I was just being nice." I met her gaze. "Nice as saying hello?" I said quietly. "What you did was disrespectful." Her confident expression faltered. "Oh, please, you're blowing this out of proportion." I let out a soft laugh and shook my head. "No, Emily, I'm not overreacting. I'm finally reacting. There's a difference." I went to the bedroom, pulled a suitcase from the closet, and began packing. She followed, anxiety creeping into her voice. "You can't be serious, Jason. You're really leaving over a harmless joke?" I zipped the suitcase closed and looked straight at her. "You said flirting was harmless fun," I replied. "Then being single will be harmless too." Her composure shattered. "Jason, please don't," she whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. But I was done. I had spent years excusing the late-night messages, the questionable girls' nights, the endless hunger for validation from other men. Every time she would brush it aside. "It's nothing, don't be jealous." Jealousy had never been the problem. It was betrayal disguised as innocence. I walked past her without another word, leaving her crying in the doorway. When the door closed behind me, the sound felt like liberation, like finally choosing myself. In the days that followed, my phone flooded with desperate calls and lengthy messages. She begged, apologized, promised she would change. I didn't answer. Every message sounded like a recycled version of the same excuse I had heard countless times. She didn't miss me. She missed the security of knowing I would always forgive her. The truth was, she had stopped respecting me long before that party. That night simply gave me the strength to stop pretending our marriage was still salvageable. A few weeks later, a mutual friend reached out. "She's not doing well," he said. "She barely talks to anyone. She keeps asking if you're really gone for good." I told him the truth. I left that night and never turned back, because once you watch your partner laugh with another man the way she used to laugh with you can't erase that image. It shifts something deep within you, something that never quite heals. About a month later, she appeared at my door. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, mascara smudged, her voice trembling. "Jason, please," she said. "I was foolish. I took you for granted. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this." I listened quietly, my arms folded across my chest. "Fix it," I said softly. "You can't repair something you destroyed on purpose." She broke down, reaching for my hand, but I gently stepped back. "Emily, you didn't lose me at that party. You lost me every time you made light of my trust." That night, I closed the door for the last time. There was no anger left, only calm. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life. A new city, a different job, a small peaceful apartment where I could finally breathe freely. Sometimes I thought about her, about that moment at the party when her face drained of color as I said, being single might be exciting too. That silence spoke louder than any argument ever could. Now when people ask what went wrong, I don't share every detail. I just smile and say, she believed flirting was harmless fun. I believed self-respect was too. And if I'm honest, I've never felt more alive since I chose the latter.